and welcome back. As we emerge from quarantine and prepare to reopen our offices, there are short and long-term implications that business owners and landlords need to address if they're going to continue to thrive in this new era. Today I'm discussing the short term, but before I get into that, I want to briefly touch on the long term, simply because there's so much noise out there. First and foremost, this is not the end of commercial real estate. Far from it, actually. Our collective work from home experience has shown that we're social beings and that the office remains relevant. Moving forward, we're going to see a rise in demand for healthy buildings. Remote work is going to become a much more prevalent business strategy. Leadership styles and company culture is going to transform, and technology and innovation are going to explode. Good news is none of this is new. Our industry has been talking about this for years. And the silver lining in all of this is that COVID is just going to accelerate the widespread adoption of these trends. Remember, disruption creates opportunity. And this is an opportunity for businesses to pause, re-examine their priorities, and reset their corporate vision. Focus on building a better office with the ability to evolve, and consider how your real estate can better support your employees, clientele, and long-term objectives. Okay, now back to the short term, which means getting back to work and implementing your own re-entry strategy. There's no one-size-fits-all protocol, and it's important that landlords and tenants work together to accomplish these goals. As a rule of thumb, landlords are responsible for the property and its common areas, while the tenants are responsible for their specific space. When businesses are developing and working to implement these new safety protocols, they really want to keep in mind the following items. First are face coverings, when and where to use them in the office and throughout the workday. Next is sanitation. This needs to be done throughout the workday, especially in those high-touch areas. Hygiene practices. Businesses are now responsible for supplying hand sanitizer and encouraging the frequent washing of hands. Next is signage. There's a couple different types of signage. The first one is going to address the previous three items. You'll also see directional signage and even signage that designates hallways as one way. You're going to want to limit visitors throughout the day. Improvements and alterations, the most common examples are plexiglass partitions in those high-touch areas, such as a reception or waiting room. And last but not least is temperature checking. This is a big one, and there's still a lot of questions surrounding it, so I suggest you consult with your legal team to determine the best solution for your particular situation. On the other hand, we have landlords. Their responsibilities are much more involved, but by no means any less important. First are modifications to building systems. This means leaving doors open during business hours, maybe providing a door attendant to open and close doors throughout the day, and making any visitor check-in process contactless. If you want to get more involved, you can consider installing automatic doors or even modifying elevators to be contactless. Any and all is acceptable. Next is tenant communications. Landlords need to be in constant contact with their tenants regarding the new protocols and to coordinate the access and usage of parking areas, elevators, and amenity spaces. Tenants also need to do their part and inform the landlord of any particular need, and also to inform them if there's been any positive cases within their premises. Next is building staff. It is imperative that the building staff follows these protocols and leads by example. The same goes for building vendors. Building access. This is one of the biggest challenges that landlords face because it needs to be done in a safe manner and in compliance with the protocols while minimizing the inconvenience that we're all experiencing. Building HVAC systems. All these systems need to be inspected and serviced at an absolute minimum I highly recommend you install higher quality filters and flush water lines, water systems, and any components that are close to or even beyond their useful life need to be replaced immediately. Janitorial services. Landlords need to increase the janitorial specifications for the building and even in the tenant's suites after hours. Building amenities. All landlords need to carefully consider whether or not they're going to allow the continued use of these areas. It includes patios, conference centers, fitness and locker rooms. If they do decide that tenants can utilize these areas, they at a minimum need to increase the space between furniture and make sure furniture and equipment is sanitized regularly. Next is enforcement. If a visitor is failing to comply, a landlord needs to promptly engage the tenant that that person is visiting. And if there is continued refusal, the landlord needs to consult their legal team and may be forced to deny access to that person. Last but certainly not least is how's all this getting paid for? Most of the costs I outlined here today fall into the operating expense category, which means landlords are going to pass these expenses through to the tenant. Some of the more involved modifications, such as elevator systems or HVAC systems, are going to fall into the capital expenditure column, in which case landlords need to review their lease and determine if and how they can pass those expenses through. You can visit the resource section in my website, chrisdrizga.com, for the full article, or you can comment below and I'll do my best to reply in a timely manner. I appreciate you stopping by and I look forward to seeing you here next time.